And hello YouTube, welcome to this video on OpenFOAM. And this video is supposed to show you, how to update your OpenFOAM configuration. Because the thing is, every 6 months or so, OpenFOAM, the ESI version, will release a new version. And then if you don't update your files, it can get a little annoying that you always have to change your versions, and your version that you have, the version you have, will get more and more outdated. So how do you actually do some of this updating? Well, you can come to the usual install site. Of course, the first thing you must do is download the latest version of OpenFOAM, whether it's OpenFOAM.org or this ESI version. Okay, and then I assume you have already installed OpenFOAM before, so all this you can kind of skip. You should know what this is. This is just copying and all that. I'm not going to show you too much. Alright, so I have a version of OpenFOAM, downloading now, and it's probably going to take a while because I think the internet's a little slow today. But thing is this, okay? Let's say I go to the opt folder. Clear? Okay. I go to the opt folder and I go to OpenFOAM. And just for your interest, I have actually two versions of OpenFOAM installed on this computer already. One is the 1812 version and one is the 1906. 1812 was released in 2018, December 2018. 1906 was released, I think, in the middle of 2019. So now the latest version is 1912, just started 2020. And how are you going to update to the new version? So we install, assuming you have already installed the OpenFOAM, this is pretty straightforward. You just you copy the same installation instructions as per normal. So you copy all the tar and you untar, and then etc. etc. You don't need to install the dependencies, because probably if OpenFOAM is working on your computer, you don't really need to do anything. So so these comments are pretty what do you call that? These are the things you should be pretty familiar with. First thing, after downloading to your desktop or whatever other place, so you have to go to Mount C. You go to your desktop or your download or whatever folder you're going to do, and you copy the whole tar file into your Ubuntu environment. So then you need to untar using your sudo commands, and you change the ownership of this folder. Okay, so basically you're copying this, you're untarring this file into the opt folder. And then you change the permissions, I think, because chown is for change owner. Yeah, chown is change owner. So assuming you already know how to do this and what all of this means, shouldn't be an issue. So this is untarring the file into the opt folder. That's why all your OpenFOAM files are usually found in the opt folder. So I'll just cd to the main one, and I'll go to the opt folder. See, that OpenFOAM will be there. So you have multiple versions over here. So these two you can ignore. The only thing you want to note is basically how to tell Ubuntu to use the latest version of OpenFOAM. Now, that's the thing. So the thing is, for this you need to take a look at the bashrc file, vi, the current folder bashrc. Okay, so you go to the root folder, right? This little wiggly line here, bashrc. Now, normally your folder which OpenFOAM file you're using will be determined by this line that you see here. Just now, I was since you're meddling around, I had this source option opt OpenFOAM blah 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 v1012 -rc. Okay, this is the file, or this is the line of code that you will need to edit in order to change the version of OpenFOAM you're using. So in fact, you can install both the openfoam.org and the OpenFOAM ESI version on your computer, and as long as you just change the latest version of this file, this is the file that will tell Ubuntu, hey, I want to use this version of OpenFOAM. So what version of OpenFOAM am I using now? I'm actually using, so if you want to check quickly, just run blockmesh or even snappy hexmesh, any OpenFOAM file, and it will of course give you an error, but it will tell you in the build line which version it's using. So you can see this version is the 1812 version. Now if I want to change to the 1906 version, or after you downloaded your latest version 1912, or even later than that, or even you want to change from the ESI version to the openfoam.org version, you just go to the -rc file, you delete this, and you quit. WQ, save and quit. Now, if you do block mesh, it will still show 1812. So what you actually need to do is, okay, I need to restart this computer, restart the terminal. Or of course, the other way is that you can run the command directly, I think. So what do I mean by that? For example, if I paste this, if I copy this, and I paste it here. So I'm opening two terminals, right? So I say source option OpenFOAM blah 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 -rc. What happens is that I'm actually changing the version I'm using. So I run blockmesh again, and it will go to 1906. Okay. And so remember, just now we were running 1812, and now once you use the source command, it will run 1906. Okay. So if I need to copy and paste. All right, let me copy and paste this into this terminal. It will do exactly the same thing, blockmesh, and then you'll go 1906. If you want to change to 1812, very simple. Go to the file here and just type 1812, press enter, and you run blockmesh. And then it changes to the 1812 version. So as long as you got the right file directory for this, you pick the right -rc file for the relevant version of OpenFOAM you want to do, it will change the default loading, the loading of OpenFOAM. So why are we going to all this extra trouble to edit this .bashrc file? Well, what Ubuntu does is that it will actually run all this code, everything you see in this file, when you start up the terminal. Right. So when you start up the terminal, it will run all these codes line by line. So in fact, if you have this file, or these two lines of code. Right, if you have these two lines of code, it will, okay, let me change this here at the bottom to 1812. So it will run all this code, and then it will run this line of code, which is source option OpenFOAM, or source OpenFOAM, then OpenFOAM v1006, and then you'll run this code, source opt OpenFOAM v1812 etc bash rc. So every time you start up Ubuntu, it will run all of this code, and then what happens is that you end up running this last line of code here, okay, which is v1812. So when I restart, when I start a new window, you can close this. So when I start a new window and I run block mesh, it will go to 1812. So of course I don't want that. I actually want it to be the latest version, for example the 1906 version. So I'll delete this line and I'll save, so that next time, every time Ubuntu starts, I will use only this line. I will load this line of this version of OpenFOAM for us to use. Okay, so that's what the bash rc file does. It's a default, what code do I run when I start up file. Okay, you don't want to load it with too much unnecessary garbage, and not it'll take forever to start up. So yeah, so let's see. Run block mesh is still v1812. So we just have to run the source command for 1906, and it will change the environment to a 1906 environment. So block mesh, and then you see it's a 1906. Very simple. Okay, so if let's say you have 10 versions of OpenFOAM running, and you want to have all 10 at your fingertips, or you want to switch between openfoam.org and openfoam.com, which is the ESI version. So okay, sorry, openfoam.org. If you want to toggle between these two, you absolutely can. So this is more than just updating, it's a little bit more than that. So yeah, to update is basically to run a new install a new version, and you tell Ubuntu, hey, I want to load this version of OpenFOAM. But if you let's say you have OpenFOAM version 7, for example, which is the latest one at this point in time, then you run the same thing. You have this what do you call that? You have this you have to untar and everything, no problem. On Windows 10, I mean, this is a slightly different kind of a thing. Okay, so you do a bash Ubuntu on Windows, blah blah blah, and then you install as per normal, and then you will need to do the same thing here, which is to these two commands actually change your bash rc file, as I was talking about just now earlier. So vi.bash rc. So every time you run these two commands, you actually add a line of code telling OpenFOAM, hey, I want to load up this version of OpenFOAM. So if let's say you have like 7 versions of OpenFOAM you want to run, how do we do it? There's this thing called Alias. I mean, this was a very interesting discovery I found. It's called Alias, and this is found in this the installation working with shell on the openfoamwiki.net. Very useful, because instead of doing this source function, okay, instead of doing this source function, all right, you can actually use an alias. And what does the alias do? Alias actually truncates the commands that you want to type. So let's take a look at some aliases that are already in the shell environment. So these are shortcuts basically. So let's type alias, and you can see all this. Alias app is cd openfoam app. So if I type app here, so these are the alias that you have written. It will change the directory to the OpenFOAM application directory. if you notice my videos, I like to use the alias L because it's very convenient. So I type the word L and this shows up. So what L does is just this actually LSCF. So LSCF will give you exactly the same thing, but typing L will make it a lot easier, you know, to it's just a convenience thing. So that's what an alias is. So why did I go to all the trouble to do aliasing with you? So well, the thing is that we can set a new alias. For example, if you want to toggle again between these two versions and make it have some shortcut, or even toggle between these two versions and the version 7, here's what you can do. You can from this website, okay, you can actually define an alias for sourcing or activating OpenFOAM's shell environment. So this one's the openfoam.org version, which I have not installed on a computer, but once you install it, you can absolutely do it. So you can define the alias, and instead, I mean, you just put it in the commands over here, okay? So let's say I want to copy this over here. I want to copy the command for sourcing. Okay, so this command here. Okay, let's set a new alias. So let's see, L. Okay, and I want to cd to the main directory, and let's say what did I paste down? Oh, the 1906. So let's make an alias called v1906. Okay, let's call it v1906. So v1906, let's call it equal to whatever you have here and close. So v1906, if we try and run that, it will, this is, yeah, so if you do this, this is not how you're supposed to do the, what do you call that, define an alias. But let's say we do this, source v1906 equals, copy and paste here. Okay. Oh, anyway, sorry, I was troubleshooting a little. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, what we need to do, take a look at once we actually define the variable like this. Okay, so this wasn't defining an alias, but it's like defining a variable. For example, over here, just like in any code, you can define a variable as such. My variable equals to blah 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 blah. So what I said here was that v1906 becomes a variable storing this this string of text. So how do you get this text put into executed, so to speak? So we just write export v1906, right? Export v1906, and then we use the term echo v1906. So you see, we have this whole thing over here, source opt openfoam blah 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 blah. So if we want to do an alias, so that's we have to like redefine this. So we have to tell the Ubuntu, you want to put this into your source file. Source v9106 equals to v1906. Okay, maybe it doesn't work like that. Okay, yeah, it looks like Ubuntu has a slightly different way of doing it. So if you're using Ubuntu, this will be helpful. Okay, so normally the way for alias, alias to be done. Oh, sorry, this was the wrong one. Normally the way for alias to be done, at least in this shell, or at least in this openfoamwiki.net, it is using this word for source of211 equals blah 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 blah. But for Ubuntu is slightly different. So the key thing to put for Ubuntu is this line, alias something 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 equals to the whatever code you want to run. So okay, I think forget the last few minutes what I was doing, but okay, let's go to the bashrc file again. Okay, so we have this. All right, if we want to use the alias, if we want to use the alias v1906 equals to, paste this down. All right, this will execute the command, and every time I press v1906, and it will execute this command. So we can test this by running block mesh. Okay, but of course this was already set, the OpenFOAM environment was already set at v1906. So what I can do is to set another alias, v1812 equals to source OpenFOAM blah blah blah. Instead of 1906, I change the bottom right side to 1812. 1812. Okay, and that will give you the alias. And these two aliases are temporary until this thing is done. Okay, so let's try v1812. That's the alias I set, my custom alias. Okay, and let's run block mesh. And you look at this, the alias v1812 changes the OpenFOAM environment to this version. And if I use the word v1906, because just the alias I custom defined just now, it will change, clear, it will change my OpenFOAM version to 1906. So this is what aliases are about. And of course, if you take a look at the bashrc file, you won't just see the source file here. You will actually take a look, you'll look at a number of aliases here. For example, you have LA and L. These are some of the aliases we were talking about just now. And this actually gives you examples of how to set your own alias. In other words, these are shortcuts. So if I were to set the alias v1906 equals to, you want to run this line of code, I will just tell the bashrc file, say alias, the shortcut equals to whatever string of text that you want to run, and then I will just run the alias. Okay, so that's how we change between versions and change between the new version, old version to the new version. And how to update, you know, it's not just how to update, you can actually toggle between OpenFOAM 7 and OpenFOAM, yeah. All right, so okay, apparently this thing has finished installing, so why not I'll just run to demonstrate. So what I have is this thing here, OpenFOAM v1912. So it's in the desktop, so I need to change directory to the desktop. Okay, so let's cd mount.c. Okay, mount and c. All right, now I want to go to users. I'll go to my own file. And I will have this, where do I install it? Hold on. Something tar.gz. It should be in the desktop. So where's the desktop? Okay, so the tar.gz file. Oh, right. I haven't actually navigated to the desktop yet. Let's go to desktop and copy. All right, where is the OpenFOAM file? Yes, tar.gz is here. And I would like to copy it into the root directory. Okay, so it'll take a while to copy. And yep, it's being copied here. So it'll just take a while to copy. And then the next thing we want to do is, yeah, I'll do the untarring. So this will actually install the latest version of OpenFOAM into the directory I have. Okay, so this is just copy and paste, sudo tar and change owner. Okay, I'll type in my password. Okay. And of course, at the same time, just for kicks, I can actually download this version of OpenFOAM too, the OpenFOAM version 7. So, yeah. This will help us to toggle between two versions of OpenFOAM, which is pretty good. Okay, so, right. Where's the... Yeah, so it doesn't look like they have a very equivalent tar tar file, just like what OpenFOAM has, where you can do this same thing. Instead, we have this sudo, set of instructions to run, which I can just open another window. Okay, so this one's still running, so I'll let it run. Okay, so this is downloading it. So this is yeah. Okay, the first instruction is finished, and we'll do this. I'm just copying and pasting all the code there. So it's going to download. So the 1912 is installing. The version 7 is also installing. So you just have to wait. Okay, packages are done. I'll just say sudo apt-get update, which will do this. Right, it should install the necessary files. And then last thing I'll do is just to install OpenFOAM 7. Okay. So it will take about 1 GB plus of everything to do. You just type yeah. So this will run the script for OpenFOAM 7 to get installed. So, yeah, I would not use xmin, so to speak, here, but I'll use ParaView the way I normally use, which is the openfoam.com way. Okay. So I'm doing two things at once. I'm installing OpenFOAM version 7 from openfoam.org and the ESI version as well, which is good, which means I can toggle between both of them. So Alright, so I think I can do a fast forward, simple fast forward here. Can go and chill a while. Yeah, and then all we need to do is just to wait for it to install. So okay, looks like OpenFOAM v1912 is finished. Finish with that step, which is the untarring step. Okay, so I'm changing the owner again of everything in that file in that file with I'm going to change everything in this file since I untarred it into my what do you call that, change it to my ownership. So I'm going to echo user, and that's my name. So I just do a change owner to change it to everything, all the permissions in that file to be so that I'm the administrator. Okay, so that's what it's doing. Okay. Okay, let's see what's next. Yeah, the next thing is okay, looks like it will take a while. Anyway, the OpenFOAM on the right, the OpenFOAM.org version is still installing, so I'll let it install. And of course, in the meantime, I just change this. I'm going to change this back to my root folder, my root directory, where I can install other stuff. Yep. So when the time comes, I can actually just delete this because this is kind of redundant, and I can change the bashrc file if I need to. I mean, while this is installing, in the meantime, of course, I can remove. I can remove all this the tar file because it's taking up unnecessary space. Okay. Right. So, and of course, I just remove it from the desktop as well. I really don't need it. Okay. Shift delete, and it's done. 500 MB freed. So yeah, so we're gonna fast forward, wait till this thing is done, and I'm gonna do the fast forward so that you don't have to see all of this. Alright, so the change owner part is done, and it was taking up a lot of my disk drive activity. So this is what it is. So let me go to opt, where we have our OpenFOAM files. Now we see 1812, 1906, and 1912 there. There are 3 versions of OpenFOAM. So again, how do we set the latest one as default? It's very simple. Remember, we're supposed to do this into our bashrc file. Okay, source blah 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 bashrc, and what we can do is just put this in the environment. So vi bashrc, okay, and that should take us to the bashrc file, and we can change it to this 1912 and save and quit. Of course, I want to actually run it without closing, so I'll just copy and paste this outside. And since we intend to be able to run between 2 OpenFOAM versions, I want to do this. Run between OpenFOAM versions. Okay, so I'll do an alias. ESI equals to, okay, so this is the ESI version, and of course this, what shall we use for this Alias? OpenFOAM Foundation, OpenFOAM org. Okay, so I'll just use OpenFOAM org as this yeah, the other alias. So I will put this here. So that every time it starts the thing, it will just run. And in fact, I can just run ESI over here, and that will run the code. Okay. Now I can also do another alias to run in the alternate version. OpenFOAM org. So that will be, okay, source, the other thing. Okay, so what is this? We should use this one. Option OpenFOAM 7, etc, etc, etc -rc. That is the other one. So this is where I'm having my alias. I'll paste it there. So this will give two ways of two ways of doing it. I forgot to add the source there. So save and quit. There we go. And let's see the -rc. I want to run the run this. Okay. Okay. So I'll use this source, and it should load pretty quickly. Okay, and I'll just run block mesh, and it will take a while because the memory space is being used up by the other one, the installation process probably. So after waiting a while, we see that it's actually using the 1912 version, which is great. We have actually successfully done our file up. So yeah, of course we can make a simple check for where the tutorial folder is. Okay, you can see that it's every time you use this source 1912, it will switch the tutorial folder into the 1912 tutorial folder rather than the 1906. So -rc, and I want, let's say we instead use the 1906 version. Okay, it will take a while again, and then I will say cd foam tutorials, and it will switch to the 1906. I mean, that's the other way you can actually check what version your Ubuntu is on. So of course I want to change it to the 1912 version. Okay, so that will bring us to the latest version, cd foam tutorials. All right, and nice thing we can do now is just delete the old versions without fear. Okay, so now we know how to switch between versions. At least with the ESI version, I can just get rid of OpenFOAM v1812 if I don't want to have it. And I can also get rid of the 1906 version if I so desire. So this is uninstalling, so to speak, but it's just deleting the files that were, you know, unzipped or untarred from there. And yeah, let's get rid of the third-party stuff as well. 1812. So that will take a while. Again, because I'm using the other part to install this. Yep. Yes, so the remove command has worked. And that's how we get rid of the older versions of OpenFOAM. And now we have as this thing is installing, we have an OpenFOAM version 7. Okay, so it's unpacking OpenFOAM version 7, and let's see. Yeah, we'll just need to run this command, sudo apt-get install build essential, and then we can start running OpenFOAM 7 from the esi.org. You can take a look at the aliases we have, and let's take a look at the bash RC to see what are the names we made for ourselves for the alias. So OpenFOAM org is this one, and the ESI version is for our v1012. I mean, we'll need to restart this in order to see the effects of what the bash RC file is. Okay. So I mean, I can close this terminal, and I can close this terminal, and I can check whether using the alias actually works. So just take a while, and just run block mesh, and it runs v1912. Perfect. And if I type the word alias, we can see that see OpenFOAM org equals to source OpenFOAM 7 bash RC. And then I have the ESI one as well, which should be over here. OpenFOAM ESI equals to source OpenFOAM option blah 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 blah. Okay, so that is the ESI version. So once this thing is done installing, and of course we run the other steps, we should be able to run this file, and of course we can see whether we can run it the same way that we do our OpenFOAM version, I mean the ESI version normally. So there you go. And yes, we have our what do you call that? OpenFOAM v7 setup. All we need to do is to just have the alias, which is OpenFOAM_org, which is what we set before, and that will change the source to whatever we want. And if we just run block mesh this time, this is now OpenFOAM 7 by OpenFOAM org. And if you type ESI, and then we run block mesh, and then we'll get back to v1912. So this is something pretty useful. So we'll just do the OpenFOAM org. Just want to do a test run of their tutorials. Foam tutorials. Okay, I want to go to the heat transfer, and I want to go to the CHT multi-region foam, for example, and I want to copy the cooling sphere case. Cooling sphere, and I want to go to the root directory, and let's put this cooling sphere case inside the OpenFOAM, and I'll put in OpenFOAM 7 cooling sphere. Oh, okay, wrong one. You have to do cooling sphere first, then go OpenFOAM, OpenFOAM 7, and put it there. Okay, make directory OpenFOAM 7. Okay, and then I'll execute that command. Yes. Okay, so I've copied and pasted the cooling sphere file there. I could have used the move command. I should have. rm-r cooling sphere. And let's go to OpenFOAM. And we go to OpenFOAM 7. Just make sure we are using the right one. Block mesh, and then yes, or simple foam. Help. Oopsie, simple foam. that will also give you OpenFOAM 7. Okay, so we can do a all run. Yeah. So yeah, you can see it's running pretty nicely. So okay, so we have this, and you can see the system fluid control dictionary. Oopsie. See the system. You can take a look at the control dictionary. And yeah, it's supposed to start at 1 second and end at 5 times 10 to the 4. I mean, no, with a 5 times 10 to the 4 delta t, so it's pretty small with that right interval. Okay, so yeah, let's take a look at the log.cht multi-region foam. Okay, so that it looks like there is some what do you call that? Some funny thing going on, but anyway, that's another story for another time. What it shows is that, hey, this thing actually works, and oopsie, CD processor 0, and you see the 0. Okay. All right. Long and short, the long story short is that this thing works. All right. So, and this is just to show you how to update your files, your OpenFOAM files, from the old version to a new version, or even run 2 versions of OpenFOAM on your computer, one for the ESI version, one for the OpenFOAM org version. So yeah, so we went through, what do you call that? We went through aliases, and yeah, so yeah, hopefully this was helpful to you in case you want to run 2 versions on your computer, or even just to do simple updating. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.